Okay, so you can see this particular slide tells you, like, it just very jokingly brings in the importance of Java, and and it also shows the simplicity of Java. Okay, so and we all know that Java is a very popular language when it comes to developing whether a desktop application or whether you're building a web-based application, web application, or you're developing any enterprise application. Okay, there are several features which it has got, like it's portable. You can develop it in, you can code. Basically, Java promised that write once and run anywhere. So you can write your code on Mac and run it on Unix machine, or you can write it in Windows and run it on any platform. So it's irrespective of any platform or architecture, you can run your Java code. Okay. Now let us see what is J2EE and why do we need JEE. Okay. Now, as we know that this particular, it is basically an enterprise edition, which helps you to create a more complex kind of applications, which are enterprise-based applications, where you can create multi-tier applications, where you can have, you can divide your complete application into different into a separation of things. Like you want a business logic, so that can be depicted by a different tier. You want your data to be stored separately, that can go in a different tier. So basically, to create huge applications but with a lot of simplicity, this enterprise edition was launched. Okay, it's a platform independent. Obviously, it is making use of the best use of all the Java features. Okay, so it helps you to develop online applications, web-based enterprise applications. So J2EE, it makes use of complete use of all the APIs, including Java APIs which are there. It makes use of the different protocols, different set of services which are there in that particular J2EE platform. Let us have a look at this particular diagram. Okay, guys, are you with me? I believe I'm not going too fast. Can you just, if I'm fast, please let me know. Yeah. Thank you, Manik. So let's look at this diagram. What you can see here is basically the J2EE architecture comprises of several containers. Okay, what here you can see on the left hand side, you can see a application client container. You can see here a web container. You can see there's something called as a business container, and there are several set of APIs which are there. Okay, so this is a complete architecture. Okay, here you can see that there is a container, okay, which contains your application, the applications. Okay, so the client side, and you have got some web container which is again a part of your architecture, which stores the servlets and the JSPs. So a container will be something which stores the different components which are required for your application. Okay, and if you're having a separate business logic being created in the form of enterprise Java Beans, you will have a separate business container for that. Then obviously, if you want to extend the usage or services to your application by by involving Java messaging services or the JNDI resources, these are different. Don't get overwhelmed by the names of these APIs. They provide, every API will provide certain set of services to extend the functionality of your application. Okay, so don't, right, as of now I can simply tell you that these APIs, okay, help you to implement several functionality or features of what you want to do in your application. For example, if you want to make your classes involve some messaging, you want to take care of the messages and queuing it up, you can use JMS API. If you want to take care of transaction support, you can go for JTA. If you want something like yellow pages, where you can fit in all your resources and just forget about it, you can make use of this JNDI, that is Java Naming Directory Interface. So at present, do not worry about the much of the technicalities about it. Just understand that this is the architecture of your J2EE. Okay, are we good to go ahead? A quick yes will do. Okay. Manik, yes, Sangeeta, what about you? I want the session to be interactive. Yeah, thanks, Sangeeta. if at all you want to ask something, you can ask now, or maybe at the end of the session also we'll have a session, a doubt clearing session. We can do that. Okay. So let's continue, if this is clear to you all. What we'll be focusing on is, in today's session we'll be focusing on this part, your web container part, where we are dealing with the Java servlets and the JSP. So let's basically we'll understand more of JSP concepts. Okay, so let's begin. Now here is a problem statement given to you. Yeah, I believe you can all who can tell me what does this look like? This slide, what does it look like? Any idea? Any guesses? Yeah, Manik says it's a web application, correct? Yes, Sangeeta, you're right. It's a banking site. Yes, so it's a banking site. Okay, now here you can see, I believe most of you might be even using them. You might have got it installed in the form of an app on your mobile, or you must have, you're already using these sites, but pertaining to your banks, right? So they will be having different interfaces, different layouts and all. Here, so consider that scenario. Okay, let's say you want to do certain banking activity on your with your bank account. Maybe you want to you want to do some bill payments, or you want to transfer the excess cash excess amount into some fixed deposit or a recurring deposit, or you want to just simply see the account statement, or what is the amount which is there in your account. You want to do some mobile recharge, or you want to do certain activities like payment of credit cards and all. So what you need to do is, first of all, you need to enter your PIN code. That is your, not PIN code as such, but enter your password. Every site will have their own way of authenticating their users, definitely. So some might be showing it in the beginning, in the top screen they'll ask you, okay, enter your consumer ID, or account number and your password, and then once you are authenticated as a user, that after authentication you are shown the next pages. So you are, all the what is the typical website means, there are several web pages which are linked to each other. Okay, now this linkage of the web pages will help a user to interact with that particular website. If they were not linked, how do you think we can move from one page to another, and in a form of a the whole session gets clearly done? So now if you look at this slide here, what it says is, let's consider this is an online banking site where only the registered users are supposed to enter and do all these activities. So for that, the bank will need to validate the user's credentials. Okay, so for doing this, what you when you're creating this kind of a home page, what as a developer, as a as a programmer, what you need to do is that you need to, obviously you'll be having certain database, a place. Okay, database will be a place where your user credentials will be stored in the form of in the form of tabular form. Okay, where your probably a user table will be created, where login IDs and passwords will be stored, and along with their other details. Okay, so what is intended is, there should be a place where you can store the registered user details. Second, on the home page you'll be accepting the user's login credentials, and once you are verified along with compared with the database, then only you are allowed, then only you are shown the next set of resources. That means resources like, as I told you, for example, here when the user logs in successfully, he's being shown the different options, whether he wants to do the normal banking, or he wants to do the bill payments, he wants to have a look at credit card, or he wants to do the service request. Okay, but all these will include one more use case, that is login. Till the time user is logged in, we'll be getting he'll be getting all these things to be done. Otherwise, once he logs out, he cannot make a bill payment. He'll have to log in once again. Okay, so all these will include a use case of the login. Okay. Now if you further elaborate this same use case, when a user clicks, let's say this user is a valid user and he is logged in and he clicks on the banking. So when he clicks on banking, okay, he will be further shown, in the banking there will be several other on that. When he clicks on that banking, the URL suddenly changes and it brings him to a page which shows him, okay, in banking, what do you want to do? Do you want to transfer money, or do you want to do the IMPS or recurring deposit, or you want to have a just, you want to request for the statement. Similarly, if the user chooses the other option, like he wants to do the bill payment, then he'll be shown a set of different options which are under that particular bill payment tab. Maybe he wants to pay the due bills or mobile recharge, DTH recharge, or manage the auto pay, or add or delete a biller. Okay, so I hope you're understanding how these pages can be, what happens exactly when we are trying to, yeah, I'll just take a question in a minute. Yeah. So okay, so I hope you're understanding how it exactly works, wherein based on the option which we are selecting from the user interface, we are being made to link to that particular page which we are requesting. Okay, so what exactly is your web application? So web application will be, a set of requests and responses which are being generated. So the user is requesting for one page, and in response, your application is bringing that page which is requested by the user as a response in the form of HTML back to the user. Okay, I'll just show you a small diagram which I have managed to make using a Paint, so that I hope you can understand. For example, here, if you look at this screen here, the client using his browser, what he does is he tries to, he clicks on a link. Let's say he clicks on a link of banking. So you're asking him, that means what happens is he's asking, get me the banking.jsp. Okay. Now when that get banking.jsp, that URL changes. I hope you understand what is a URL. It's a uniform resource locator. That is the the address of that particular resource which you're trying to access on the website, which gets displayed on the the browser where you're typing the IP address to which you want to connect to. Okay, I'll just show you in a moment. First, we'll just go through this particular diagram. Okay, so when a client asks for a particular URL, what happens is that request, this is a, as I told you, your web application is nothing but a series of requests and response. Okay, the moment that cycle ends, okay, by the user when he logs out, that means his services, that means his session is complete. Okay, now let's say he asks for a particular web page. Here he's saying, get me this particular banking.jsp. That request goes onto the web server, okay, which is having a container, okay, which is containing all his JSP, which is managing all the JSP pages for him. So it fetches that hello.jsp, and I'll in the meanwhile I'll explain you how the conversion happens and how it fetches this back in the form of HTML to that. Just try to understand, this is a cycle. Okay, so where when a user requests for a JSP page, the container fetches that data and sends it back in the form of a HTML to the browser. Okay. Is everybody understanding this, or yeah, any doubts till now? Yeah, Manik, thank you. Anybody else who wants to ask something? Let me just check. What about Prabhakar, Sai Krishna? Any questions? Vishwanath? Can I get a quick yes from you guys if you are following? Manik, I am getting your responses. Yeah, thank you, Prabhakar. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. We'll go back to the slide. Okay. So this is just a continuation. As I told you, if the user clicks on the credit card tab, he will be probably shown a different JSP, a different page, which will which will give him the different, options, whether he wants to see the summary, he wants to do the credit card payment, or he wants to convert the payment into a form of EMI, all these things. So I've prepared a demonstration for this use case. Okay, here you can see I have this is the URL to which we are trying to connect. Okay, I have just highlighted it in blue. You can see that what is written is it here. The first thing, I'll just read it out for you, the URL: http://. Now because your when we are programming, okay, this programming can be written for any kind of a protocol, but 99% of times what we are doing is we are using our HTTP servlets programming, okay, along with JSP. So that is why what protocol we are tapping is HTTP, okay, hypertext transfer protocol, which in turn returns the HTML form to the user. Okay, now you look at the URL here. I'm calling my home page of my website. Let's say the website, which application which I've created here is WCD demo. So here http:// and this is my local host colon and the port on which my Tomcat or Apache Tomcat, that is my servlet container, and JSP container that is my application container, is being installed. Okay, so this is the whole URL. Now the moment let's say if I want to log in, if I have my you can see this is the banking site and welcome to your bank. Then these are simple this is a simple JSP, or in the index.html, the first page, the home page of any website, where it asks you if you are a valid user, you enter your login ID and password and click on login. If you're not a valid user, let's say you click here to register, so it opens. You can see immediately what happens to the URL. It changes to register.html. Okay, so what is happening is now it is fetching a HTML page from my application. Okay, here it will ask me enter a new login ID, enter the password, and confirm your password and submit your query. So what I'll do is, let's say I want to create a new user. I'll say test 12. Okay, I'll enter the password as test 12, and here I'll say test 12. Okay, so I'll submit this query. Now as soon as I submit the query, it says congratulations, you are a valid user. Okay, and it says click here to view the resources. That means now once I have registered myself, it says you can view the resources. Okay, now you can see here that I've got this immediately. You can see my URL changes. It says resources.jsp. Okay, from register.jsp it became resources.jsp. Now when I click on banking activity, okay, so what happens, it shows me that what do you want to do, whether you want to transfer money, IMPS, or you want to do the go for recurring deposit, or you want to see the statement request. So here you can see again the URL changes. Okay, so what exactly is happening, what we are doing, we are requesting for a page, and that page is being loaded, okay, by the container. So what exactly the container here, the JSP container doing, it is what happens is when your request is going from your client, okay, to the through the web server. Okay, so the web server will give your request to your container, and the container will search for the matching name which your matching name of URL which you are requested for. If it finds that resource, it will convert that resource, means get the response from that resource in the form of an HTML, and it renders it to the end user. Okay, so this is how it works basically. Okay, so let us just continue with the slides. So here what we are doing is we are dealing with, as I told you, we are dealing with HTTP, okay, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Now this is a protocol which is used on the World Wide Web, okay. So because your World Wide Web understands this, only this protocol, and it is using, it defines, it's a set of specifications which defines how your messages are going to be transmitted or formatted. Okay, so HTTP uses HTML to display your web pages. Now here you can see what architecture is being used by the servlets. So what happens, as I told you, when the client is sending a request, try to understand here what exactly how the flow of your application takes place. Now when a client is requesting for a web page, that request goes in the form of in the form of a GET request or a POST request. There are different types of requests which are available, applicable in the HTTP. So that goes to the web server. Now web server can be your IIS, that is Microsoft Internet Information Server. It can be any web server for that matter. Now that web server can only take care of the static pages. So if you're asked for the home page, let's say if your first request is that you're asked for the home page of your banking site. So let's say the website name is, as I showed you, http://localhost:1990/WCD demo. That means here you're you're requesting the home page, which is static page in the form of an HTML. So when that request goes here, the web server will fetch that static data for you. Okay, it sends to you now in the form of a response. Now when that response comes back to the user, what the user do is, now user wants to, he fills in the data of the valid login username and password. Now this data is no more static. Now here the dynamic nature comes of your web application. So when the user enters the valid login ID and password, and when he clicks on submit, that means login, again that new request goes to the web server. Now the web server knows that I cannot handle this dynamic request. So what it does is immediately that URL is passed to the web container. The web container will search for the matching servlet or a class which is going to handle that kind of a request. Now you saw that when I showed you the demonstration, you saw that there was a different JSPs getting opened. One was banking JSP, bill payments JSP, credit card JSP, or register.html, register.jsp, so register.do. So what was happening is, depending upon the client's request, when the dynamic nature is being requested, web server which cannot handle it, it passes it on to the web container. Now this container can be your Tomcat, can be your Glassfish container, depending upon whatever software, whatever you are using. So here it takes that, and now what this architecture does is, servlet architecture, it treats every request as a new thread. Okay, so your every request for this particular servlet, let's say there are 10 people who are requesting for the same applications register.do. Okay, so register.do servlet class is only one. It's only one instance will be created, but after the creation of that one instance of the servlet, 10 threads will be created, which will be rendering the service to those 10 clients. Okay, so it will not create, if there are 10 requests being raised, it will not create 10 instances of that servlet class which is being requested by these users. Let's say, imagine that there are 10 different users which are requesting the same kind of a servlet across the globe. So what the container does, container will pick up that one servlet class, it will load it into the memory. Okay, it will load the servlet class into the memory and initialize it properly by giving the servlet configuration parameters which we have configured to it, and then it will it will pass on this thread to the service method of this servlet. Every servlet has a life cycle, and that life cycle of that servlet is maintained and managed by the container. Okay, so I hope this point is clear to you all, that whenever you are using the servlet architecture, you are saving a lot of memory, because here you are creating lightweight threads. Threads are very lightweight as compared to the earlier technologies like CGI. okay, wherein processes were created. Okay, so in place of threads, what was happening was every time any a request was raised for any particular resource, that script was being done again and again. Same script was being run again and again. So several instances of those script was created. Okay, and which was a load on the processor. So obviously, the load was means there was a lot of burden on the network. So network latency was increased now, but this using this servlet architecture, that brought down. Okay, so every request creates a new thread which gets its own service method of the servlet, but only one instance of the servlet class is being created into the memory. Okay, I hope that a point is clear. Okay, so which are the I'll just put up a question to see how many of you are really attentive. What, which are the, what happens when a user places a request for a servlet or for any resource for that matter on the internet? Based on the servlet architecture, if your website is created using a servlet architecture, what exactly happens? If a user is placing a request for a web page which is having a dynamic content to be generated. Yes, very good, Banik. Request will be considered as a thread. I'll just come back to that point. Anybody else who have understood this in a different manner probably compared to Manik? Let's say, yes, it will be handled by the container, correct, because you are requiring a dynamic response. Whenever a dynamic response is requested by the client, it is handled by the container, because web server is not capable of generating the dynamic response. It is only capable of rendering you the static response. Now what happens, yes, okay, what happens when when a request is sent or request is generated for the dynamic response? What steps are taken place? I told you what happens. The container will check whether an instance of that servlet is loaded in the memory of or not. If not, it will immediately first, load that servlet class into the memory. It will create its one instance, and first step after creating the instance, it will run the initialization on that proper initialization. That means init method is being called on that servlet, and init method will we configure that whatever parameters you want to configure that servlet with will be passed, so that those parameters are there in the servlet configuration. Okay, so first method is init. Once that initialization of a servlet object is successful, only then this request will be passed on, okay, in the form of a new thread to that particular servlet, okay, to the servlet's service method. So the second method is what? Service. And the third method is destroy. So init and destroy happens only once in the lifetime of a servlet, whereas service method can be called again and again by different requests raised globally, okay, several number of times. Am I clear? See, I'll just write it down here. Sorry. See, so first is what you are running the init method. That means we are not running it. The life cycle of the servlet is managed by your container. Okay, and that container is called as what? Web container, which is also your servlet container or your JSP container. Okay, now this container can be your Tomcat, Apache Tomcat, or it can be your Glassfish, or it can be Jetty, or whatever you are using. Okay, so here you're having this init. Init will have what? Will have the servlet config object passed to it. Servlet config object passed to it means it'll have all the parameters being configured to it. So this will happen only once. Okay, try to understand that. Second, you'll be having the service method, which in turn will be calling different types of the get and post and put and different types of methods which are there. So this service methods, for rendering the service method, different threads are created. Okay, and then in the end comes what? The destroy method. I hope this is clear. Okay, Prabhakar, what about you? Raja, Sai Krishna, Vishwanath, Arun Kumar. Why am I not getting any? Harish, are you all with me? Thanks, Harish. Thanks, Prabhakar. Yeah, thanks, Arun. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Sai Krishna. So, okay, let's continue. So this was about the servlet architecture. Okay. Now let us look at the JSP part. Now, when we before we move to JSP, I would like to tell you one thing. Yeah, Arun Kumar. Yeah, tell me, what is your question? Please type it down. It is your servlet container. I told you. It is your servlet container, that's your web container, which is responsible for creation of the instance of that servlet. First, it will check whether an instance is already existing or not. If it is existing, then only the service method will be called upon that particular object of the servlet. If it is not existing, servlet object will be instantiated. Only if it is properly instantiated, the service methods will be applied to it. Otherwise, the servlet exception will be thrown. Am I clear? Yeah. Okay. So let's proceed. Now, before we move on to JSP, okay, I would like to know if anybody from your, like from the ones who are present here, if you know what is the difference in a servlet and in a JSP, if ever you have come across some documentation or something. Okay, let's continue then. Nobody knows. So what exactly is servlet and what exactly is JSP? No problem, Manik. JSP, okay, it is purely in the form of your HTML, but with little of Java code in it. Okay, whereas your servlets are Java, okay, with little of HTML in it. Okay, so yes, yes, Sai Krishna, yes, your JSPs are purely HTML with little Java in it. Okay, along with obviously XML and yeah. So okay, so the difference in servlet and JSP is that, first of all, JSPs are very easy to write. Secondly, although it is very, because see, what you have thought of your web page, as you want to write it down, instead of writing all the instead of taking an instance of the print stream object and getting a handle to it and then writing the out.println methods and then configuring what the response is supposed to be in the form of a servlet, that is very difficult. So the JSPs are much preferred when it comes to the response generation, because there you can simply just write the code. I'll just show you the JSPs which I've used here. Okay, currently I just use this so here you can see a little of Java code is being used. Otherwise, this is all HTML, isn't it? Anchor element href, okay, then h4, a little of the scriptlets is being used, little of expression language is being used, but what is majorly is there is you are using HTML. So JSP is much preferred because it is from the point of view of web designers, it is much easier because they can leave the gaps for the programmers to fit in whatever logic they want to put in the Java language. Okay, so major what the designing they want, they can put it in there. Okay, but try to understand what is the best part here is that a JSP, when you write a JSP internally, it gets translated in the form of a servlet, and after translation in the form of a servlet, it gets compiled and it becomes a dot class, and then its instance gets created. Again, the same thing what I told you about the servlet architecture, same thing happens with that JSP instance. The JSP, it gets translated into a servlet, okay, then it gets compiled into a dot class, then a instance is getting created, then the in JSP init wing is being called on that, then service method, okay, and then JSP destroy. So I hope you're understanding, but JSP is much preferred when it comes to creation of the views, creation of the something which a user has to see. Okay, yeah. So let's move ahead with this slide. Okay, so let us look at what are the advantages of JSP. Before that, we'll just see what is JSP. So JSP, it helps you to dynamically generate web pages based on HTML and XML. Okay, obviously, as I told you, it uses the Java programming language. Wherever you want to fit in or you want to get some dynamic content, you have to sometimes use Java programming language. But you know, with the different versions of JSP, that is being reduced because of the usage of Java Java server standard tag libraries. JSTL is being involved. Then expression language has come up, which reduces the total usage of Java language into the JSP. So again, what you need when you want to run and deploy your Java server pages, you need the container like Apache Tomcat or Jetty. Now the advantages is that obviously it's easy to develop, because I hope you understand here, when you are writing this particular page, okay, you want to write this, let's say you're writing this banking.jsp. So here you want to just show these different different links. You can just write a ahref. If you're having this index.html, okay, so let's say I can name it as index.jsp, it's one and the same, but writing in this is so simple. And imagine if I'm creating a servlet, I have to write like this. Okay, this is my servlet. So if I want to write a servlet and give a output, I have to write all this code, which I have done for the register.do. Okay, so to get that particular one output, what we do is we take the print writer object, we get the writer object, then we get what is there in the request parameters, and then we create a response by giving this out.println. So you can understand that just to print that those two lines, congratulations, a new user is created, I have to do all those things. Okay, which is much easily done in the JSP. But obviously you cannot just if wherever the dynamic nature is involved, there you have to make use of either the expression language or the scriptlets. Okay, so there are different things which are again in a part of the JSP. Okay, JSP can be both used for front end as well as the business logic or the middle tier, but it is much better if you are keeping the separation of concerns. If you leave the business logic with the controller, that is in the form of a servlets, and keep the views only for the JSP, it's much better. And it has a dynamic compilation feature. That's the best part of it. Whenever you are changing JSP, it creates a new servlet class, okay, and then loads its new instance. So we were talking about this three-tier architecture. Okay, so here you can see how it fits in. So here that means your JSP can be a part of this the client tier, they can also be a part of this business logic tier. Okay, but mostly preferably what people do is they are if they are having a separate enterprise Java Beans app being used, or they'll use for developing the fat clients, that means client along with the business logic, that is also not preferred, and fact servers, that means business logic along with the database tier, that is also not preferred. So they keep this layers separate. So user interface layer, which is the presentation layer, will be at the topmost. You have the business logic layer, which is the middle tier. Okay, and then you have the database tier. Database tier is the data store in the legacy, which you normally call database. It can be Oracle database, Sybase, Ingress, Postgres, whatever you are using. Okay. So as I was telling you about earlier, okay, we spoke about the servlets lifecycle, init, service, and destroy, and I told you JSP is a servlet. So ultimately a JSP gets translated into a servlet, then which gets compiled into a class. So it has got the same set of events. First it gets initialized by calling JSP in init, then the JS underscore JSP service method is called for every request, and response is being handled like that. And once that chain is over, then let's say all the pending requests are being served properly, then the JSP destroys event is called, whereby your servlet gets destroyed, okay, by the container. So whole of this life cycle is not the headache of the application developer. This life cycle is being managed by the container. Okay, that's why we use JE architecture, J2EE architecture, is because it acts like a duct tape, because it puts all your components together, and thereby freeing you as a developer from the headache of managing security, transaction, and life cycle, and all memory management of all these components. You focus on the applications, prime logic, and okay, so that makes your job simpler. Okay, I believe this brings us to the end of the presentation, and I would be happy to solve your doubts. Whatever doubts you have, please put them in your chat window. And thank you very much for participating in this. And I'm still there. I would request you to put your doubts in the question. Okay, I'll take a I'll yeah, you're given some time to post your questions.
Hey guys, this is Shankar again. Could you please confirm if you can hear me? Great. Arun, thanks for the confirmation. Okay, Sai, great. Great. Harish, can you hear me? Manikanda? Raja, can you hear me? Vishwanand? Okay, great. So, guys, what I was thinking is, right, rather than having the questions, over the chat window, let's do one thing, right? I will go ahead and unmute you guys, so that you can speak to the instructor directly. I'll be doing it one by one. Please let me know if it is fine with you guys, so that you can ask you questions. Great. Manikanda says yes. Okay. Meanwhile, there are some questions which which I can actually answer, right? So I'll go ahead and answer it till Muskan is on break for 2 minutes, right? So a lot of people are asking if this session is recorded. Yes, this session is recorded, and the recording is available. As I spoke to some of you guys, I am going to send you the recording tomorrow morning with the presentation, right? So please confirm if if someone is in need of it, please let me know. I'll go ahead and I'll send it. Yes, Manikan, I'll definitely send it to you. Great, Prabhakar, I'll send it to you. Raja, I will send it to you as well. Harish, I'll send it to you. Okay, great. So, guys, we usually run the webinars, very often, right? We run the pre-webinars very often, right? So after this webinar, there is going to be a short feedback form which you're going to receive once you finish the webinar, right? I would request you to fill that fill that survey report and send it to us so that we can help you out in that. Okay. Great. So, guys, what I'm going to do is, as I said, I'm going to unmute everyone one by one, right? And Muskan and I are going to take the questions and we are going to answer them, right? The first person I'm going to unmute would be, okay, let me see. Okay, I'm going to unmute Manikanda. Manikanda, is this fine with you?
Hello, Manik.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Manik, we can hear you.
Hello.
Manik.
Yeah.
Thank you. What is the use of framework here?
Which framework are you talking about? I mean, are you talking about the complete J2E architecture?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, that's what I said. This J2EE architecture, which where you see,
Okay.
you might have used J2SE, right? Now, in the
Yeah.
J2SE, if you are creating a class and you need its 100, objects of that class, what do?
Okay.
You are managing it there. It's you are creating those objects. You are injecting those objects or using those objects. Let's say I'm just assuming. I'm just saying that let's say you're not dealing with the J2EE. Okay, let's say you're not dealing with the enterprise edition. You're only dealing with the standard edition, and in that standard edition, if you need a object 100 times, okay, 100 objects of the same,
Okay.
who is going to manage its memory management? Who is going to do the security or transaction or all those things for that? You don't have any architecture for that, right? Am I getting to that?
Yeah.
So here what happens is I need let's say a servlet object is being asked requested by 100 clients at one go. Do you think it can be managed by the standard edition, or it can be managed like that without the container?
No.
So I need a container, I need a architecture, I need some framework which is going to bind it all together for me. I told you it's a duct tape. Just remember that word, duct tape, which is going to bind all your components together so that they give you a complete applications functionality in the form of website. So all your servlets, JSPs, databases, everything is bound in one. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Am I clear?
Yeah. Thank
Manik?
you. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so Manik, do
Welcome.
you have any other
Anything else
question?
you want to ask, Manik?
No. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm
Great.
going
Thanks for your participation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Have a
Manikanda, so
nice day.
I'm going to put you back to the attendee list. So
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, the next person whom I can put online would be Vishwanand Pratap. Shall I go ahead and put it, Vishwanand? Vishwanand, can you hear me? Vishwanath, can you hear me? Vishwanath? Okay, guys, I think there is some issue with his system, right? We are not able to hear him. So, okay, the next person I see that Sai. Sai, shall I go ahead and make you the organizer?
Hello, Sai.
Sai, can you hear us?
Hello.
Yes, Sai, we are able to hear you, but you need to increase your volume.
Yeah, yes. Hello.
Sai, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Yes, great, Sai. So you can go ahead with your question.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yes, Sai, can you hear me?
Yes, Sai. Bolo. Yeah,
Hello.
tell me what is your question. Hello.
Web server. Any specific
Yeah,
location
tell
is
me.
there
For what?
where the servlet objects the
Nini, Sai, will you please repeat the question?
hello
Your voice is breaking with the, I'm not able to hear the continuous question. Servlet and what you are asking something. Please repeat.
servlet objects are stored in the web server.
It's there, your container, web container.
Any specific location in the server?
Sorry? Servlets are, see,
He's trying to
servlets
ask
are,
you. He's trying to ask you if there is any specific location where he can store.
uh-huh. No, see,
Yeah.
it depends upon the
Yeah.
memory management of the container, how it is going to load. See, what happens, there are, for example, if I give you the example of NetBeans, as soon as you, start your Glassfish server, it'll load all your applications and it'll load all your required servlets into the memory immediately. Okay, but it depends upon the configuration what you're doing. And if you're doing a configuration wherein you do not want
Okay.
obviously all the servlets classes to be loaded into the memory as soon as your application is up, you can wait for the lazy installation. I mean lazy configuration, wherein only depending upon the request made by the end user, then only the servlet instances are created in the memory. Servlet objects
Okay.
are created in your JVM.
Okay. No, thank you.
Okay, Sai,
Okay.
does
Sai,
that answer your
does
question?
it answer?
Okay, thank you.
You can ask me
Yeah,
if you
yes,
have.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay,
Muskan, I think we are
thank
good
you,
to
ma'am.
go. All right.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and unmute the next person who is available. Just give me 1 second.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay. I'm going to, put on air Mr. Prabhakar. Prabhakar, can you hear us? Prabhakar? Okay, Muskan, I think Prabhakar, we are not able to hear him, right? We'll go to the next
Hello.
person.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think only Raja is offline.
Yes.
Harish. Hi, Harish.
Hi, Harish, can you hear us? Harish? Muskan, I don't think so. Harish is able to hear us.
Acha. What about Arun Kumar?
Uh, Let me check with him.
Yeah.
Hi, Arun, can you hear us?
Yeah. Yeah, Shankar.
Yes, Arun. So, Muskan is here. If you have any doubts, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Muskan. Good evening.
Hi, Arun.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, thanks for say. It was a nice session.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
hope
but I.
you carry some value with that. Yeah, tell me.
But I have some. I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, you are saying that. I mean, one instance. I mean, each and every server. I mean, container will create one object, right? I mean, it will create one instance, right?
Yeah, for every servlet. I mean, if you remember the demo which I gave, in that, let's say I go on the banking tab, okay, and I say in the banking I said go for account activity tab. Okay, so what is happening to my URL? What is happening to my request as a client? I want that within that resource of banking, there is another resource which I'm asking for, and that is my, let's say, account activity.jsp. Are you
Okay.
understanding? Now what happens
Yes.
is that account activity.jsp, what I told you, how it is rendered, how the container renders that to you, not directly. You will not be seeing the JSP directly. What you're going to
Yes.
see is first that JSP gets translated into a servlet internally.
Yes.
Okay, so a servlet class is created of that particular JSP.
Okay.
Are you understanding? Once
Yes.
the
Yes.
servlet class is created, it gets compiled into a dot class. So first it becomes dot Java, and then it becomes dot class, and
Yes.
then that class object instance is created by the container, and it is put it in the memory after all the complete initialization by running the underscore JSP init.
Yes.
Okay. Now once this instance is a proper, they say it's a proper instance. Proper instance means now it is a proper serviceable instance of the JSP. So it is there in the form of instance in the memory. Then what happens? This request which is created, that request goes in the form of a thread asking for a service to be given. So then your JSP, the service method is rendered. Whether that service is do get, do post, do delete, do trace, whatever is the different methods that we are not going right now into the HTTP methods much details. But
Yes.
service methods are called again and again for every request which is raised for that particular JSP. And once all the pending requests are served well, then the JSP destroy is called for that instance by the container, because container has to keep on releasing the memories which is being used up.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you still want to ask something?
Yes.
You still want to ask something? Yeah.
In a single container, we can put so many applications, right?
Right.
For each and every application, we'll have different servlets. I mean, different different servlets.
Correct. Your application. Yes.
For each and every servlet, the container is going to create one instance.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so I mean, if I am, I mean, I'm
See,
writing.
I'll just interrupt you there. Sorry. See what happens. As I told you, it is quite possible that it is not like as soon as you start your Glassfish server or you start your Tomcat server, all the servlets instances will be created and put in the memory. It's not like that. If there is it can happen that it's upon the availability of the resources. If the server finds it is good enough to load the instances, small number of applications are there and small number of servlets are required, it will go ahead and put the instances ready for you. But
Yes.
if there's a lot of memory management to be done and the fine tuning has to be achieved and all, definitely it is upon the upon the internals of JVM how it functions and how it loads the instances. But definitely when a user requests for a service, it gets the service if that is there in the container.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So one more question, last question.
Yeah, no problem. You can ask many more.
We have
No problem.
servlets.
Yeah.
Even I have servlet. Servlet is nothing but my Java class, right?
Right.
The difference between a normal Java class and a servlet is if you are implementing servlet or HTTP, such generic
Here you are
class.
implementing the servlet API. Here you are implementing servlet API means you are extending a HTTP servlet and you are
You are implementing something, yes.
right.
So
here you are
without, yes.
Yeah, tell me without what?
Without implementing, without extending, can I make my normal class as a servlet?
You'll have to then provide you can, but then there'll be a lot of unnecessary you writing, it's like living in the age of we are living in the age of aeroplane and we are still traveling by bullock cart. It's like that.
Yeah.
So when you are given a architecture, you're given a framework. So if you want to increase your productivity, okay, basically I believe that's what the industry projects require. They don't want their programmers to waste time on the unnecessary details when the things are already there in place for you.
Yeah, but thing is we are overriding service method and init method something, right? So same methods.
Yeah, you are.
Right?
You are writing.
Same
Actually,
methods.
you are saying what you're saying is you don't want to follow the wizard. You want to write on your own. You can write definitely. Why not?
That is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Muskan.
Welcome.
Great. So Arun, do you have any more questions?
Yeah. No. Thanks, Shankar.
Great, Arun. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Arun. Thank you all for a great session and for great participation.
Great, guys. I think we had a very fruitful session, right? And I hope Muskan has given you a good information because I was sitting through all the session and I have learned a lot of things about JSP. So we are going to end the session over here. And as I have informed, we will be sending you the recording and the PPTs by tomorrow, right? In case if you need anything, you have the email address, so you can reply back. And please do not forget to give your feedback. Thank you, guys. Have a good time.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.